9 le 10.
Chapter 2, verse 9 and 10.
Yes.
But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
Now, ditšhaba tse pedi tsa bohlokwa di lokollotswe ka makgetlo a mabedi.
Now the two most nations that are of great importance, they were released, or
tsa lokollwa.
they were freed.
Now, Israel ile ya ba setšhaba.
Now Israel became a nation
Ba le Egipeta.
while they were in Egypt.
Ya ba lokollwa teng e le setšhaba sa Israel.
And they were delivered from there, being the nation of Israel.
Meaning go tla ba lokolla kore ha ba lokolwa e ba setšhaba.
Meaning for their deliverance, when they are delivered, they become a nation.
Now go nkile 400 years gore ba lokollwe.
Now it took 400 years for them to be delivered.
And then after ba lokollotswe go tlo hlaha ba priesta ka hara bona.
And after their deliverance, then the priest will appear amongst them.
Then ba priesta ha ba hlahe before ba lokollotswe, jwale ba se ba tswile mono bokgobeng ba Faro.
Now the priest did not appear before their deliverance when they are now freed from the bondage of Pharaoh.
Now, one thing that e re tshwantseng go e hlokomela ke gore ba dutse nako e telele bokgobeng go bokgoba go le boima gore bo tswe go bona.
Now, one thing that we must take note of is that they stayed for a long time in slavery, in that slavery was something that was hard for them to come out of.
But go ha go tsho gore ha se setšhaba sa bohlokwa.
But that does not mean they were a nation that was not of great importance.
Now, ha re bala Exodus chapter 19, verse 4 today to 6. Re tlo elellwa gore na modimo o reng go bona mona.
Now, when we read the book of Exodus chapter 19, verse 4 to 6, we will realize what God says to them.
Ke kopa re be hlokolosi because go hlokolosi ditabeng tse e bala.
Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians,
Yes.
and how I bare you on eagle's wings,
Yes.
and brought you unto myself.
Yes.
Now therefore, if
Yes.
ye will obey my voice indeed,
Yes.
and keep my covenant,
Yes.
then ye shall be a peculiar treasure
Yes.
unto me above all people.
Yes.
For all the earth is mine,
Yes, please.
and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak.
Now, mona ke ha ba fihla tabeng ya Sinai.
Now here is when they came to Mount Sinai.
And then tabeng ena ya Sinai
And this mountain of Sinai,
e bitswa thaba ya modimo.
it was called the mountain of God.
E ne le gona moo ntho tse ngata di tlo hlahela.
It was where a lot of things
Yes,
were
yes.
going to come.
Yes, dintho tse ngata di tlo hlahela.
It was where a lot of things was going to
Di
appear,
tswa ho modimo.
coming from God.
E nngwe ya tsona e ne e le majwe ana a mabedi a molao.
And one of them is the two stones that were of the commandments.
And then one of them in a tabernacle le tsohle tsa yona.
And one of them was the tabernacle and everything that belonged to it.
Me ha tabernacle e se e le teng, Modimo a le teng ka ho yona.
And when the tabernacle was already made and God was present in it,
Ko go bolela gore ho hlokahala batho ba bang bao ba bitswa ba priesta, ba bang ke ba Levi.
then there is a need of the people that are called the priests, and some are called the Levites.
And batho bao ba kgethuwe hona mo tabeng eo ya Sinai.
And those people were chosen there on Mount Sinai.
But ke kopa re shebe taba ela ya 400 years.
But I would like us to look at this matter of 400
Or
years.
before ya go yona re hlahlobe gore Modimo o re na ba bone gore na o entseng go ba Egipeta.
Before we go to it, let us examine that God is saying to them, did they see what he has done to the Egyptians?
Meaning tshwantse be ba hlokometse na o entseng.
Meaning they should be
Yes, yes,
careful
yes.
of what he
Because
has
ha
done.
ba sa hlokomela na o entseng ba ke be ba tseba seo Modimo a leng sona.
Because if they did not take note of what he has done, they would not know what God.
Ba ke ba tseba gore na ba ntse ba tsamaya le Modimo ya jwang.
They will not know the kind of God that
And
they are
o
walking with.
itlhalosa gore o ba pepile ka mapheo a ntsho.
And he explains that he bare them on eagle's wings.
Polelo eo e tlhalosa gore gore bona ba ne ba tsamaya hodima hae.
That language means that they were walking
Kapa ba ne
on
ba le
him,
go yena.
or they were in him.
But ntho important ke gore diaparo tsa bona ha di taboe, because ha motho a tsamaya fatshe diaparo tshwantse di taboe le dieta tshwantse di taboe.
But what is important is that their garments were not torn and the shoes were not torn as well.
Seo o re o ba pepile ka mapheo a ntsho a ba tlisa ho yena.
He says he carried them on eagle's wings and he brought them unto
Ke kopa
himself.
re utlwe party eo haholo.
May we listen carefully to that part.
Ke setjhaba seo a nang le selekane le sona ka Abraham.
It was a nation that he had a covenant with through Abraham.
But o ba tlisitse go yena.
But he had brought them unto him.
Then ha a ba tlisa go yena.
And when he had brought them unto himself,
Go bolela gore bona e tlo ba treasure go yena.
that means that they will be a treasure unto him.
But tshwantse ba hlokomele go tsamaya ka selekane sa hae.
But they should take note to walk according to the
Ke ka
covenant.
mokgwa o a ba tlisitseng go yena ka ona.
That is the manner in which he had brought them unto
Mokgwa o
him.
ba tlisitseng ka ona ke gore a ba lokolle.
The manner which he
Yeah.
had brought them
Yes,
is
yes.
for him to
Yes,
deliver
yes.
them.
And then ha ba lokolla o ba tlisa go yena.
And when he delivers them, he brings them unto himself.
Meaning ba tlo ba go yena because ba lokolletswe go tla go yena.
Meaning they will be in him because they were delivered to come to him.
And then o bontsha gore o tla ba etsa mofuta kapa mo barena le ba priesta kapa bo priesta ba borena.
He shows that he will make them
Yes,
kings
yes,
and
yes.
priests.
And then hape e le Modimo
And again, as God,
o tla ba etsa treasure. Bona e tla ba treasure, meaning e tla ba ntho ya bohlokwa e patwang ka thata go yena.
he will then make them their treasure, meaning it will be a peculiar
And then
treasure.
ha kala a tsho jwalo,
And the moment he says that,
o tshwantse o mamele statement se se tlatlamang.
you must listen to the next
Se
statement.
re o tla ba etsa marena le ba priesta.
It says he will make them kings and
Yes,
priests.
yes, yes. Now, ha eba o ina le ntho ya bohlokwa,
Now, if you have something of great importance
jwale o na le ya bohlokwa.
and you have something that is of
Yena ya
greater importance,
bohlokwa e tshwantse o beuwa ka seifeng.
the one of greater importance must be put in the
Because
safe.
important haholo.
because it is much more important.
Now, once ba bitswa marena le ba priesta, e leng taba e tla emela 400 years e nngwe hape.
Once they are called kings and priests, which is a matter that will wait for another 400 years.
Now, after that, go ba le 400 years dipakeng tsa Malakia le Matthew.
And after that, there was a 400 years between Malachi and Matthew.
Meaning 400 years ba le Egipta ha e fela tshwantse ba lokollwe.
Meaning 400 years when they
Yes,
were in
yes.
Egypt, and at the end
So
of it,
ho
they
na
must be
le
delivered.
setjhaba.
There is a nation.
Now, after 400 years, ha re tloha ho Malakia, ho tlo ba le setjhaba se seng.
Now, after 400 years, when we move from Malachi, there will be another nation.
Ere ke phete. Ho tlo ba le setjhaba se seng.
There will then be another
Jwale
nation.
setjhaba seo se tlo akaretsa le baditjhaba.
And that nation will also include the Gentiles.
Yes, setjhaba sena se seng sona ka bo sona se tla fetoa mmuso wa ba priesta wa marena, e tla ba marena le ba priesta bona.
That nation, it will then turn to being kings and priests.
So re utlwisisa hore
So we understand that
400 e ya qalang ya tokollo
the first 400 years of deliverance,
e hlophisetsa 400 years e tlang ho hlahlama.
it prepares for the next coming 400 years.
Because before bana ba itla modimo o tla thola hape.
Because before
Yes,
these ones
yes, yes,
come,
yes.
God will be quiet again.
And then o tla thola 400 years ho sena moprofeta ho sena letho, because ho na le setjhaba se tlang hape.
He will be quiet for 400 years where there is no prophet, there is nothing.
Jwale
Because there's a
setjhaba
nation that
seo
is coming.
se tla tlala lefatshe.
And that nation
Yes,
will
yes,
fill
yes.
the world.
But sena se tloswang Egipta after 400 years ba tla ya Kanana fela.
But this one that is delivered from Egypt after 400 years,
But
they will
sena
only go to
sa
Canaan.
400 years ya bobedi se tla tlala lefatshe.
But these ones of the second 400 years, they will fill the
Meaning,
whole world.
after 400 years, ho na le ntho e etsahalang, e ileng ya etsahala hape.
Meaning after 400 years, there's something that happens
And
and that will
then
happen again.
400 years e qalang,
And the first 400
e
years,
qala ka dibuka tse hlano.
it starts with the 5
And
books.
then e lokisetsa dibuka tse ding tse tlang ho fihla bukeng ya bo 39.
It prepares for other books that will come on the 39th book,
And then e leng dibuka tsa testamente ya kgale.
which are the books of the Old Testament.
And then after that, ho tla hlahlama dibuka tse 27.
And after that, there will follow 27 books,
E leng setjhaba se seng hape se sa tshwaneng le sena.
which is another nation that is not the
Then
same as this one.
sena se ne se ya tempeleng kapa se ne se ya tabernakeleng.
This one was going to the temple, or they were
But
going to
sena
the
sa
tabernacle.
400 years ya bobedi, 400 years ya bobedi, ha se tempeleng, sona se fetoha tempele.
But these one of the second 400 years, they don't go to the
So
temple. but
ho
they
ho
turn to being a
bontsha
temple.
hore taba ena ya testamente ya kgale e ne le foundation ya se tla etsahala. Jwalo ka ho testamente ya kgale ke seriti.
That shows that the one that happened in the Old Testament was foundation of what will happen. As much as
And
they say
then
the
ha
Old
re
Testament is the
latella
shadow.
ka dilemo re tlo bona gore o kare ho na le ho ntabeng ena.
And as we follow throughout the years, we will see that there was something in this matter.
Re tlo bona gore na ha re bala buka ena ya First Peter re setjhaba se kgethilweng.
And we will see that when we read this book of First Peter, we will realize that
Yes,
we
yes.
are a
How
chosen
to and then
generation.
for 400 years yele ya pele ne re le siko.
For the first 400 years, we were
re
not
tlo wela
included.
400 years ya bobedi.
We will then be included in the second
And
400
then
years.
sena sa 400 years ya bobedi.
And this one of the second 400
Ha
years,
sena go bona liru mare modimo o tla apara nama.
They will not see the
Yes,
cloud,
yes,
but
yes.
God will cover himself with the
And
flesh.
then ho lokisetsa gore modimo a tsebe o dula ka ho motho for 100 years ena bobedi.
To prepare that God should be able to stay in a person in the
So
next
ho
400 years.
bontsha important ba setjhaba sena sa bobedi.
That shows the importance
Yes,
of this
yes, yes.
second
Yes,
nation.
yes, yes. Because setjhaba sena sa bobedi
Because this second nation,
sona se tla tswela pele go isa bofelong ba bofelo.
they will then continue up until the end of the
E
end
leng
time.
generation eo Peter a buang ka yona.
Which is a generation that Peter
But
mentioned.
generation eo Moshe na tsamaya le yona.
But the generation that Moses walked with,
E ne le generation e bonang leru ka pela yona.
it was a generation that saw the cloud before
But
it.
generation ena eo modimo a seng a tlile.
But this generation that God has now
E
come,
tseba modimo a le ka hare.
it knows God as the
Because
one
lentswe la
inside.
modimo le re ba le amohetseng le ba neile tokelo.
Because the word of God says those that have received
Then
it, he gave
re
them the
tshwantse
right.
go tseba gore
We must know that.
o before re ya mo re tshwantse go tseba gore setšhaba sa pele
We must know that the first
se
nation,
bitswa setšhaba sa modimo.
it was called the nation or the generation of God.
Yes, yes. Se bitswa setšhaba sa Israele
They were
sa
called
modimo.
The generation of Israel and the
But
nation of God.
setšhaba sena se setšha sona
But this new generation,
se bitswa bara or bana ba modimo.
they are called the sons or the children of God.
Boprista ba teng
It's priesthood.
bo tla ka tswalo.
It comes through birth.
Yes, tswalo ya bobedi.
The second birth.
Wa e utlwa kere? E tla ka tswalo ya bokae?
It comes
A ke utlwa
after,
Melville. E tla ka tswalo ya bokae?
it comes when
400 ke ya bokae?
the 400 is of.
So setšhaba sena sona
So this
ba
generation,
ntse ba le teng tshwantse ba tswalwe.
even if they are present, they are born, they must be born
Because ke batho ba
again.
tshwantse ba tswalwe la bobedi.
Because they are people that are
So
supposed
ha
to
ba
be born
fitla
the second time.
tswalong ena ya bobedi
So when they reach to being
ba
born
bitswa
again the
bana
second
ba
time,
modimo.
they are now called the
Ba
children of
bitswa
God.
marena le
They
baprista.
are called the royal
Ba
priest.
bitswa setšhaba se
They are
kgethehileng.
called a chosen
Ba bitswa
generation.
setšhaba se
They are
kgethuweng.
called a peculiar
Ba
nation.
bitswa setšhaba se leng treasure ya
They
modimo.
are called a treasure of
Ba
God.
bitswa kganya. Ba bitswa setšhaba seo e leng
They
kganya.
are called the generation
Se
that
bitswang- se
is
bitswang
the glory.
light ena.
They are the light.
Ye, ba bitswa gore ke letswai la lefatshe.
They are called the soul
So
of the world.
bana ha ba fitla ba ba le mabitso a mangata go feta sa pele.
So this one, when they come, they have a lot of names more
And
than the
then
first one.
e be sena se leng teng gona jwale
And this one that is present right now,
ga se elele boleng kapa maatla ao sona se leng sona.
they don't realize their worth or the power that they
Meaning
are.
we need to know hantle gore na go etsaetseng mona.
Meaning we need to know very well what has happened there.
Hallelujah. Ya utlwala kere. Ao batho, ya utlwala. Ya utlwala kere. Now, ha re shebisitse mangolo, jwale e be re sheba chapter 7
Now let us examine the scriptures, looking at chapter 7
ya Baheberu verse 1 to 4.
of the book of Hebrews, verse 1 through to 4.
Yes, ha re shebe hantle.
Let us look at it carefully.
Yes, please.
For this Melchizedek,
Yes.
king of Salem,
Yes.
priest of the Most High God,
Yes.
who met Abraham,
Yes.
returning from the slaughter of the kings,
Yes.
and blessed him,
Yes.
to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all,
Yes.
first being by interpretation king of righteousness,
Yes.
and after that also king of Salem,
Yes.
which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God, abideth a priest continually. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils.
Now, mona ho hlaloswa Melchizedek.
Now here it is the explanation of Melchizedek.
Now, before Abraham a hlonolofatswa, ho la tshwanela ho tle Melchizedek.
Now, before Abraham could be blessed, Melchizedek was supposed to.
Now, monna eno a bitswa Melchizedek.
Now, this man that is called Melchizedek.
Buka ya Baheberu e mo hlalosa a sena ntate, a sena mme.
The book of Hebrews explains that he is without father, even without
Or ha
mother.
ana generation yeo a tswang ho yona. Listen to this.
Or he doesn't have a generation that he comes from.
Me ha qeta ha ana leloko le leng le tswelang pele. This is very important.
And he doesn't have a generation that continues.
Meaning ditaba di eme mo ho yena. Jwale o bitswa moprista ya modimo o hodimo.
And he is called the priest of the Most High
Mo
God.
bukeng ya Genesis ho no so ka ba go e ba le ba priesta.
In the book of Genesis, there were no priests yet.
And then ho no so ka ba go e ba le morena.
And there was not even a king yet.
Meaning Melchizedek o na le boemong bo phahameng ba ho hlonolofatsa.
Meaning Melchizedek was on a high level of being able to bless.
O na le boemong ba ho hlonolofatsa Abraham
He was in a position of being able to bless Abraham
or Abraham.
or Abram.
Now, meaning Abraham kapa Abraham ka boyena o needed hlonolofatso.
Meaning Abram or Abraham himself, he needed a blessing.
Ka motho ena ya bitswa morena wa Salema.
By this person that is called the king of Salem.
Eo e le moprista ka mo eo le moprista modimo hodimo.
Who is a priest of the Most High
And number
God.
2 e le morena wa kgotso.
And number 2, he is the king of peace.
And then ho tsejwa hore lebitso le le hlalosang Jesu ke ena morena wa kgotso.
And it is known that the name that explains Jesus is King of Peace.
And then jwale Jesu ha ana leloko.
Now Jesus is without descendants.
Because o theohile le hodimong a kena kampeng ya Maria.
Because he came from heaven and went into Mary's womb.
So ka mantswe a mang ha ana generation o tshwana le Melchizedek ha ho hlaloswa ke buka ena ya
In
Bahebele.
other words, he is without generation. He is like Melchizedek when the book of Hebrews explains
Meaning
it.
ke ena ya tloetsang hore generation ya Abraham e be telele e be teng ka ho sa feleng.
He's the one that's going to
Yes,
make the generation
yes,
of
yes.
Abraham to be there
Motho ena a
forevermore.
bitswa Melchizedek o na le important ho hlonolofatsa Abraham.
This person that is called Melchizedek was important to bless Abraham,
Hore Abraham a be le leloko le sa feleng.
so that Abraham may have a generation that
Jwale
is
tshwantse re
forevermore.
utlwisise jwale ha ho thwe Jesu boprista ba hae ke ba mokgwa wa Melchizedek.
We must understand that when they say Jesus' priesthood is in the order of Melchizedek,
Ke boprista bo senang leloko.
it is a priesthood
Yes, yes,
without generation.
And then
or
ke
descendants.
borena bo senang leloko.
It is a kingship that is having no descendants.
Meaning batho ba tlotlang ba hlahlama Jesu.
Meaning the people that
Jwalo
will
ka re
follow
hlalositse.
after Jesus,
E tlo ba marena a moya.
they will be spiritual
Yes.
kings.
E tlo ba baprista ba moya.
They will be spiritual priests.
Jwale ha re eme mo tabeng eo he.
So let us just stop right there on that
Motho
matter.
ha e le moprista wa moya.
When a person is a spiritual priest,
Dintho tsa hae ha di hlahelle ka ntle di ka hare hobane ke motho wa moya.
his things things don't appear on the outside, they are inside, because that person is a spiritual
That is why batho
person.
ba mo shebileng ba ka bua ntho e ba e ratang, because ha hona ntho e mo supang.
But that is why the people that are looking at that person can say whatever they want,
But
because there's nothing that
moprista
shows.
wa moya le wa nama ha ba tshwane.
But the priest that is of the flesh and that is of the spirit, they are not
Wa
the
nama
same.
o tswallwa ha Aarone.
The one that is of the flesh is born from the
But wa
descendants of
moya o
Aaron.
tswalwa le ha eba a tswetswe lelapeng le itseng.
But the one of the spirit
Yes,
is
yes,
born
yes.
even if they are born
Then
in a
ha a
certain
fitla
family.
mona ho Jesu o tswallwa mopristeng.
That when they come or reach here in Jesus, they are born
And
into
then wa
priesthood.
moya o ka hodimo ho wa nama.
And the one of the spirit is
Yes,
above
yes, yes.
the one of
Because
the flesh.
moprista ba Aarone
Because the priesthood of Aaron,
ha bona sebetsa ho modimo ditabeng tsa moya.
they will not work in God in the matters
That
of the
is why
spirit.
Jesu ha e shwa sefapanong.
That is why when Jesus died on the cross,
Lesela la tempele le hauwa ka lehare.
the veil of the temple was torn into
Hore
two.
modimo ha a sa tla dula ka
That
tempeleng.
God will no longer abide
Because
in
ha
the
hona
temple.
moprista ka ntle ho modimo ya dutseng ka
Because
tempeleng.
there's no priest without the God that
And then
abides
jwale
in the
moprista
temple.
bona ba Aarone
Now the priesthood of
bo
Aaron,
fellwa ke nako, because bona
it loses time because
bona ke ba madi a diphoko le a banamane.
it is because of the,
But moprista bona ba rona
but our priesthood,
ke moprista ba madi a motho modimo o sa
it
feleng.
is the priesthood of the blood
Now
of the
how
person
o
of,
tshwantsha moprista ba Aarone le bona,
now when you compare the priesthood
o
of
tla
Aaron and this one,
conclusioning ya hore ha Peter a re
you come to the conclusion that when
you
Peter
are
says,
chosen generation,
you are a chosen generation,
ko bolela hore o tlositswe nameng immediately wa latlhelwa
it
moyeng.
means you have been removed from the
And
flesh
moprista
and thrown
bo a
into
se
the
moprista
spirit.
bo
And
felang.
that priesthood is a
Yeah.
priest that is
Ha
not
se moprista
eternal.
bo
It is
felang.
a priesthood that
But
never
ba Aarone
ends.
bo khathuwe ke wena ya bitswang Jesu.
But the one of Aaron was cut off
So
by
ho
this one
bolela
that
hore
was
taba
Jesus.
ena ya 400 years ya bobedi
Meaning the 400 years, the second
e ne
400
le
years,
important ba di tlo tswala baprista ba
it
bangata.
was of importance because it was
Because
given back
baprista
to
ba
a lot of
400 years
priesthood.
ya pele
Because the priests of the first 400
bona ha ba
years,
bangata jwalo ka
there
bana.
are not so many
Ha
as
se
these ones.
setjhaba.
They are not
That
a
is why rona
nation.
re bitswa setjhaba.
That is why we
Re
are called
setjhaba
a
sa
generation.
marena le sa
We
baprista.
are a generation of kings and priests.
Ya utlwala ke ke ntho e divine.
It is a divine matter.
Botsa motho ka morao hore wa e utlwa ke ntho e divine.
It is a divine matter.
Ya utlwala ke re a utlwa ke now ke kopa re ba le ba Hebrew hape.
May we read the book of Hebrews again.
Chapter 9 verse 11 and 12.
Chapter 9 verse 11 and 12.
Yes, please.
But Christ being come and high priest of good things to come,
Yes.
by a greater and more perfect tabernacle,
Yes.
not made with hands, that is to
Now,
say.
re tshwantse ho utlwisisa hore
Now we are supposed to understand
hona
that
mo tshwantse re eme hanyana.
we must just stop for a while.
Christ e le moprista e moholo
Christ
wa
who
se
is
phethehileng.
a high priest of good things to come.
Yes. Se tlang ho tla.
The good things to come.
O kene ka tabernakeleng.
He has entered into the
Ke
tabernacle.
kopa o e bale ngwana.
But Christ being come and high priest of good things to come,
Yes, please.
by a greater and more perfect tabernacle.
Greater and what?
Greater and more.
Greater and more.
Greater and more.
Of what?
Perfect tabernacle.
Perfect tabernacle. Listen to this.
Mamela tabena.
Why moprista o?
Why does that priest
Is moprista a tlang tempeleng?
is not a priest that comes into a temple?
Wa e tshwara again. Hona le motho a e tswalang. Because modimo qadile tabernakeleng.
Because God started first in the tabernacle.
Yes. Now, akibe aya tempeleng a se a qale tabernakeleng.
Now he will not first go to the temple without
But
starting
this
at the tabernacle.
tabernacle, ke tabernacle a nnete, ha yane e ne le seriti sa tabernacle.
But this is the true tabernacle, while the other one was that
So
the
we
shadow
need
of the
to know
tabernacle.
this. Hore na re ka mo re ka hara eng.
Now we need to know
Now,
what we
because
are in.
re setjhaba se reng ha re se fitla,
We are in generations that
ha re
when we
fuwe
come,
seriti, re fuwa ntho
we
nnete.
are not given the shadow, but we are given the real thing.
Then tell me, hore ha motho a fuwa ntho nnete, e mong a fuwile seriti, ya important ke mang?
Then tell me when
Yes,
one
yes,
is given
tell
a
me.
true thing and the other one is given a shadow.
Ke
Which
mang
one
ya
is important?
kgethilweng ka tsela e hlokolosi?
Who is then
Yes,
chosen
yes,
in
yes.
a peculiar
Ke mang ya
manner?
kgethwang ka tsela e hlokolosi?
Who is the one that is chosen in a
Ha
peculiar
enwa a
manner?
fuwa ntho tsa nnete.
When this one is given the real
Then
things.
moprista enwa
Now this priest,
o ya tabernakeleng ya
he
nnete.
goes to the true
Ha e
tabernacle.
ka madi a diphooko le
He
a manamane.
doesn't go through the blood of
Because
animals.
ha re moloko wa madi a diphoofolo.
We are not a generation of the
Hey.
blood of animals.
Ha re moloko o re hlokang diphoofolo.
We are not a generation that
Re moloko o
needs
hlokang
animals.
Modimo a theohe ka boyena.
We are a generation that needs
Modimo
God
e
to
be
come down
moprista
himself.
yena.
God to be the priest
Ene a nke
himself,
madi a hae yena.
taking his own blood
Hore etsa.
to make us by a greater and more perfect tabernacle,
Please.
not made with hands.
Yes.
That is to say,
Yena ha e
not-
tswa ka matsoho.
this one is not made with hands.
Yena ha se ya matsoho.
This one is not of hands.
Ke kopa o ko itshwara hanyane o re
Just hold yourself a bit and say,
ntho o e kgethetsweng ha se ya matsoho.
that which you were chosen for is not made of
Ntho o
hands.
entseng gore o be ngwana Modimo ha se ya e tswa ka
What
matsoho.
made you to be a child of God was not made by hands.
Jwale molele iri
Now,
tell the next person
tell the next person,
se ke wa latela ntho tse entsweng ka matsoho haholo.
do not follow much the things that were made by
Anything
hands.
e entsweng ka matsoho, because e batla ho senya ntho e sa etswang ka matsoho, tshwantse wa rwane le yona.
Anything that is made of hands, because it wants to destroy the things that was not made by hands.
Don't
you
be
must separate
ruled
from it.
by ntho tse entsweng ka matsoho. Rulwa ke ntho tse sa etswang ka matsoho.
Don't be ruled by the
Yes.
things that are made of hands, but be ruled by the things that are not made of hands.
Hlokomela gore ntho tse tla o etsa hantle seo leng sona hore o phethale ke se sa etswang ka matsoho.
Be careful that what will make you correctly what you are to be.
And
perfect is
hlokomela gore
what is
ha
not
se
made of
ntho
hands.
tsa nama ho hang.
And be careful that
Yes,
it is
yes,
not the
yes.
things of the flesh at all.
Anything to do with flesh, it's not your portion.
Anything to do with
Yes,
flesh
yes.
is not your portion.
Don't follow anything ailing your flesh. Tswa ho yona, because tsena ha di a etswa ka matsoho.
Don't follow anything that is made of flesh. Come out of it, because this
Se
was
ka ba
not made of hands.
manganga ho tshwarella nthong tsa nama e kare ke tsona fela.
Do not be stubborn to hold on the things
A
of
re
the
wana le
flesh as
tsona
if
hore
they are the
ntho e ke
only
leng
ones.
yona o kare ke a e utlwa jwang.
Separate
Ke mang a
from
re
them
ntho e
so
ke leng
that
yona o kare
this
ke a e utlwa
that
jwang.
I am, I
O ke ke wa e
understand it now.
tswakanya le ntho tse entsweng ka matsoho.
You cannot mix it up with the things made with hands.
Jwale ho thweng,
That is to say, not of this building,
yes,
neither by blood of goats and calves,
yes.
but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place.
Ha ba Israel ba le teng,
When the Israelites were present,
every year tshwantse o iswe madi.
every year blood was supposed to
But
be taken.
bana ba priesta
But these priests,
ba tlatsuwa ka madi
they are washed by the
a o
blood
keneng hang.
that where a person entered once,
A keneng hang.
that which entered
Meaning
once.
ha o tho a kene hang,
Meaning if the blood
ho
entered
bolela
once,
hore ho a tshetjwa hore hana letho.
it shows that it
Ho a
is trusted
tshetjwa hore
that
a na le
it is
matla o
having
phedisa motho ka ho sa
It
priest.
It is trusted that it enables us to be royal priests.
Ha re ye ko bukeng ya Revelation.
Let us go to the book of Revelations.
Hallelujah. Whew. Verse 6, yeah, chapter 1.
Verse 6 of chapter 1.
Mo Bibeleng ya e qala ho 5.
And from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead,
Yes.
and the prince of the kings of the earth.
Kore ya re etelletseng pele o tswa bafung.
The first begotten of the dead.
Ke letsibolo la tso ya bafu.
He is the first begotten of the dead.
Ya re kgethang o tswa bafung.
The one that has chosen us has risen from
It's
the
very
dead.
important.
Ke taba e
Because
bohlokwa
ba
eo.
etapele ba bang ba ntse ba le teng mabitleng.
Because other leaders are still
But
in
ke
their
lebitla le
grave.
le leng le sena motho.
But there's only one grave that has no bones in it.
Ya dutseng lehodimong letsohong le letona.
The one seated in heaven at the right hand.
Ne ke kopa hore re ke re hai.
Hi.
You need to know. So this thing,
So taba ena,
you don't compare it le manala le di skinny. You I compare it.
you do not compare it with nails and the skinny.
No, yeah, it's I compare it.
It's
You don't compare it with money
you don't compare it with money.
or le fame. You don't. It's too high.
E phahame haholo.
You don't compare this with anything that you will come across. Ya mo lefatsheng e ka reng e monate. You can't compare it.
You don't compare it with anything that you can come across of the
If
world. You don't
if
compare
re ka
it.
ya pele,
If we can
ha
go
eba re ka
further,
dumellwa ho ya pele.
if we can be allowed to
Ha o
go
lwanela
further,
ntlo ya mo,
if you are fighting for a
o no
house
tseba
here,
hore ho na le dimension kwa.
do you know that there are mentions up
Ha
there?
hona batho ba sebetsang lapeng
There's nobody that works
because
in the
ha
house.
hona mobu wa o fiela mo.
Because there's no soil to
Ha hona mobu, ha o fielwe.
there's no soil, there's no sweeping
Ha o
there.
nkutlwa, ha o fielwe kwana mo, ha o fielwe.
They do not clean up
Ha
there.
hona motho ya ntse a tla ka lesela hobane ha hona
There
lerwele.
is nobody that comes with a cloth
Ebile
to
ha
wipe
hona
up dust.
seriti kwana.
And there's no shadow up there.
You are just fighting for something e nang le seriti.
You are just fighting for something that is
But
of
o
a shadow.
emetswe ke ntho e senang seriti.
But something that is not of a shadow is
Ha o
waiting for you.
teng ya benya.
When it says that
Ha o
thing
qeta ho tsamaya ntse
is
benya.
bright, it says when you leave,
No,
that
ntse o
thing
tsamaya
will
hodima
still
yena, ha
shine.
hona maoto a nomorang.
You are still working on it.
Ha hona ntho ele ya hore re tlisa ntho ele ya shh, ba rata ntho.
There's
ba
no
rata ntho ele ya
spray.
shh.
There's no spray to wipe
Ha
off.
hona di-spray.
There are no sprays
Because
up there.
anything ya lehodimong, it's clean.
Because anything that is of heaven is
Le
clean.
wena ha hona ditshila tsa ho hlapa.
And you also
Kwana
do
ha
not
hona
have gas to wash
di-shawara.
off. There are no
Ha hona batho ba
showers there.
nkgang mahafi
There are
kwana.
no people that have bad breath. Smells bad. Up
Yes. Mona wang, kwana hape ha hona di-toilet.
there. Up there, there are no
No.
toilets.
Ha hona bathroom kwa.
There's no bathroom up there.
Then you are just fighting for bathroom. Ho rubele ntlo ena le bathroom. You are
Then-
crying for bathroom.
You are just fighting to have a house that has a
Ha hona
bathroom.
spray sa toilet.
There's
kwa.
no toilet spray up there.
Ska bua jwalo le rona.
Don't talk like this with us.
Ke bua
Like that
jwalo.
with us. No, I'm speaking like that.
Because you don't know who you are.
Hobane ha o itsebe hore
O
o
tseka
mang.
ntho tse tlase haholo.
You fight for things that are very low.
Very low. Gore, o qeta selemo ntse o lwana. Bona we.
You finish off the whole year fighting.
Gore, ha o tenne aparo tse tshweu.
When you are dressed in white garments,
Tse hohobang.
the ones that touch the ground.
di ntse di le sweu ha di na go tshwehla ha di hohoba.
They are still white. They will never be dirty
Wa
as they
bona?
touch
Di
the
a
ground.
hohoba ha re ntse re fela re ntse re fela.
As we are saying, doing that, they touch the ground.
Ke mmereko wa rona.
That will be our work.